The rain hadn't just fallen over the small Louisiana town, it drowned it. Sheets of water slid across the cracked pavement, and the bayou behind Dauphin Sons Funeral Home groaned under the weight of rising floodwater. Nights like this made the building feel older than its 1940s bones, like the storm was peeling away everything that hid its darker history. Jordan Keller tried to ignore all of that. He'd been counting down his final hours on the job. After 6 years working nights in funeral homes across the state, this was going to be his last shift before moving on to a better-paying job in Baton Rouge. He'd already cleaned the chapel, locked the display rooms, and prepped tomorrow's services. All that was left was to make it to midnight. But Dauphin Sons had a reputation, one the locals took seriously. They whispered that during the war, the mortuary handled special cases, bodies the government didn't want to list. Even after the place became a public funeral home, strange reports continued. Doors opening on their own, voices in the embalming hall, and once, a full casket in the viewing room moved 3 inches overnight. Jordan didn't believe in ghosts. But he did believe in the storm knocking out the power again. At 11:47 p.m., the back entrance buzzer ripped through the quiet hallway. Jordan stopped stacking documents. Damn. A late arrival. He wiped his hands, walked down the corridor, and opened the door. A coroner stood under the dripping awning, rain running off his shoulders despite the umbrella. He looked tired and uneasy. "Delivery for you," the coroner said, voice rough from the cold. "Another one from St. Charles Parish." Jordan signed. The body bag was unzipped halfway to reveal the paperwork clipped to the chest. Name: Elijah Darby. Age: 67. Time of death: unknown. Cause: listed as natural, but marked for additional review. Jordan raised an eyebrow. Additional review? At this hour? The coroner avoided looking directly at him. Look, family only called after neighbors noticed the smell. He was alone for days. Jordan nodded slowly. All right. I've handled worse. But as they rolled the stretcher inside, Jordan felt something strange. The air got heavier, thicker, as if the humidity outside had followed them in and settled inside the funeral home walls. The coroner hesitated before leaving. His eyes scanned the dark hallway beyond Jordan. "You're doing this one alone?" he asked quietly. "Yeah. Why?" The man's jaw tensed. "No reason. Just good luck." He disappeared into the storm before Jordan could ask anything else. Jordan rolled Elijah into the preparation room. The soft hum of the overhead lights filled the space, until they flickered, buzzing once before stabilizing. "Not tonight," Jordan muttered. "Please." He unzipped the bag completely and froze. Elijah's eyes were open. Not the soft, half-closed eyes of someone peacefully gone, but wide, reflecting the ceiling lights, pupils dull and clouded yet somehow alert. Jordan inhaled sharply. "You died of natural causes, huh?" He leaned in, checking the tag, the lips, the jaw. Nothing unusual except the eyes. He grabbed a cloth to close them, but the moment he touched Elijah's cheek, the lights shuddered again. The metal table vibrated beneath his hands. "Oh, come on," Jordan whispered, stepping back. The vibration stopped instantly. He shook it off. "Just nerves." He turned to grab his tools. Tap, tap, tap. The sound echoed through the room. 3 slow knocks on the preparation room door. Jordan stiffened. "Coroner," he called. No answer. He opened the door slowly. The hallway stretched out, dim and silent. The motion lights didn't activate. The air felt colder, like someone had just walked by. Jordan closed the door again. When he turned back toward the table, his heart slammed against his ribs. Elijah Darby's head had turned to face him. The mouth hung slightly open now, jaw slack, as if caught mid-breath. Jordan staggered back, knocking into the supply cart. No, not happening. He forced himself closer, shaking hands hovering over the corpse. It's just settling. Post-mortem movement. Totally normal. But as he reached for the sheet, a voice, faint and low, drifted through the room. Not from the air vents. Not from the hallway. From the table. Don't leave. Jordan froze, breath stuck in his throat. The corpse hadn't moved again. Its lips were still slightly parted. But the voice The voice hadn't been imagined. He knew what hallucinations sounded like. This wasn't one. He backed toward the door, chest heaving. "I'm done. I'm done. I'm calling the director." He swung the door open and nearly fell to his knees. Every door in the hallway, the embalming bay, the cold storage room, the supply closet, the old and used viewing room, stood cracked open, each one just an inch. The sound that drifted out from them wasn't footsteps. It was breathing. Multiple breaths. Slow. Wet. Wrong. And behind all of it, Jordan heard something moving at the very end of the hallway, something dragging across the floor. Not footsteps. Not a person. Something else. He whispered, trembling. "What the hell did you bring in here, Elijah?"
Marion locked the preparation room door behind her as if the simple twist of a deadbolt could stop whatever was happening in this funeral home. The hallway outside was silent, but it was the wrong kind of silence. Thick, humming like a sound pulled out of the air rather than the absence of noise. Her final shift should have ended an hour ago, yet she was still here, pacing the room, trying to convince herself that what she heard earlier was a trick of stress. But she couldn't forget it. The gurney wheels moving on their own. The cold hand on her wrist. The whisper that called her name from inside an empty hallway. She sat on the metal stool, her hands shaking as she took out her phone to call her supervisor. No service. No Wi-Fi. The building had completely swallowed every signal, as it always seemed to do whenever something strange happened. People joked that the funeral home sat on dead land, a place where sound and technology didn't obey the living. She used to laugh at it. Now she wasn't so sure. She stood and approached the prep room table where Mr. Thorne's body lay under a white sheet. The man had died with a twisted expression, eyes open, jaw locked, as if he had seen something that terrified him to death. Marion avoided looking directly at his face. She had already closed his eyes once, but they were open again when she returned. She forced herself to look now, lifting the sheet just a little. His eyes were closed. She exhaled shakily. "Okay. Good." Thump. The sound came from the storage freezer. Marion flinched so hard she nearly knocked over a tray of instruments. She stepped backward toward the door, but something deep inside her stopped her from running. She had heard noises before, bodies settling, air shifting, old pipes groaning. But the freezer door, it only made that sound when someone inside pushed. Thump, thump, thump. Slow, rhythmic. Like knocking. She swallowed. No. No, 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 this is not happening. She picked up a metal aspirator rod, not a weapon but the closest thing to one, and approached the freezer door. Breath after breath fogged the cold metal, but the knocking had stopped. When she pressed her ear against it, she heard nothing. Until... Marion. She screamed and stumbled backward. The voice wasn't muffled. It wasn't distant. It was clear, whispering right behind her. She spun around. Nobody was there. Her breathing turned shallow. "Get it together," she whispered. "Get it?" The overhead lights flickered violently, buzzing like trapped insects. Then they went out. Pitch blackness swallowed her. Marion froze. The darkness inside a funeral home wasn't like normal darkness. It felt thick, heavy, as if the walls themselves were watching her. She fumbled along the counter until she found her phone and used the flashlight. The thin beam cut the darkness but barely. A shadow crossed the beam. She jerked the phone upward. Nothing. Another shadow slid behind her. "Who's there?" Her voice cracked. "This isn't funny." From the hallway came footsteps, slow, dragging footsteps, like someone barefoot on polished tile. They stopped at the door she had locked. Then the whisper, "Let me in." Marion's heart slammed against her ribs. She stepped closer to the door against her better judgment, flashlight trembling in her hand. Through the narrow bottom gap of the door she saw feet. Bare feet. But they were facing the wrong direction. Heels forward, toes backward, as if the person was standing unnaturally twisted. She stumbled away in horror. The doorknob turned slowly. Once. Twice. Then shook violently. The entity outside pushed harder and harder, the entire door rattling. Marion screamed for help, though she knew no one would hear. Suddenly, silence. The pressure stopped. The footsteps faded. Her phone buzzed. A notification popped up even though she had no service. New voicemail. Marion's stomach dropped. With shaking hands she pressed play. The message was only 3 seconds long, but she knew the voice immediately. It was Mr. Thorne. The dead man lying on the table. "I'm not done with you." The voicemail ended. The lights flickered back on. And the body on the table was sitting upright.